Welcome back to Questions for the Rector. I'm Stephen Heiner, and with us, as always, is the Rector of Most Holy Trinity Seminary in Reading, Pennsylvania, His Excellency Bishop Donald Sanborn. Thanks for joining us, Your Excellency.
Hello, Stephen.
So we have, as usual, a lot of questions. It's been a very busy week. I need to remind you that you'd said we're going to not have regular Leo Watch, and then a bunch of things happen afterwards. But before we get to that, just a reminder to everybody, if you haven't already done so, hit the like button coming into the stream, and then let us know in the chat where you are watching or listening from today. I was reminded by a parishioner in Pottstown, Your Excellency, that when we were naming all of the publishing houses you asked for last week, that I did not mention that True Restoration has very good pricing on the DeHarb Catechism. So I'm correcting that mistake from last time. If you haven't,
it sounds like a commercial.
You would think, but I felt bad for not mentioning them. But there is a very good price on the DeHarb Catechism, which His Excellency endorses. You can find that at True Restoration. And as a reminder in general for people, His Excellency is sitting in these live streams, answering questions back to back, sometimes up to 3 hours. Although that's close to strangulation length for me, so we don't normally go that long. And he will sometimes misremember a quote or not remember where it's cited from, and he'll correct that. Usually he'll bring that with, he'll bring some quotes that he's asked for that he doesn't remember. Just, I'm asking as somebody who's asking the bishop questions, he doesn't always, I would say he's right most of the time, but he doesn't always remember that quote. So give him a little bit of grace there as he's answering all of your questions. So the first question today, Your Excellency, is someone who, we remember we had all of those locations last time. Someone says, I'm here. And it was handed off to Father Bayer to get back to everybody. After listening to many sermons, live streams, teachings of the Church, and the evils of Vatican II from Bishop Sanborn, my husband and I and my 2 kids have decided to leave the Novus Ordo and begin our journey of embracing sedevacantism. Both churches Father Bayer recommended were about 3 hours or more one way from where we are. My question is, are we to go to one of these churches every month? Is there a link to live stream masses? And what are some steps that we must do before becoming the members of the Sedevacantist Church? And I suppose that's probably where we want to correct, Your Excellency. There is no Sedevacantist Church, but I think the spirit of the question is, what are some steps that someone would need to do in order to start getting ready to go to a regular traditional Latin Mass?
Well, the first thing, there is no Sedevacantist Church. There's only the Catholic Church. That's the only church that truly exists. And it's just that our position in the present moment is that because the Novus Ordo hierarchy is teaching false things, that's a sign that they are not assisted by the Holy Ghost, which is promised to us by Christ. I will teach you all truths. See, so that is a sign that they are not, that they do not have the authority, and that's why we take that position that the see is vacant from that point of view. Because they lack the authority to teach, rule, and sanctify the church. So they should understand that first. They need to approach a priest, yes, as much as they can. Obviously, if it's 3 hours away or more, they can do that every week, most probably, but once a month, perhaps, or even as much as they can. I don't know their situation. And that's, but then the priest needs to process them, for lack of a better word, and that is determine that their baptisms are valid, because we're not sure about Novus Ordo baptisms now. And also that they are instructed in the Catholic faith. They need to be catechized, at least in the basics of the Catholic faith. So those are the things that need to be done. And as much as they can do, they should do. We live stream the Mass on Sunday, so you would have to give them that information, because I have no idea what that is.
Sure, that's MH, Most Holy Trinity Seminary streaming. You can find that on YouTube, and that's on all the time. Mass on Sundays is at 8 a.m. Eastern time, so that'll always be available.
Let me add as well that they can be catechized online by ourselves. So that's then you would refer them to Father Bayer.
Yes. So you've already This correspondent has already been in contact with Father Bayer, so you would just go back to Father Bayer and ask about being hooked into his regular catechism classes.
Yes, he does a lot of catechizing. So that would take care of that. But we do have to. We could also determine the validity of their baptisms by asking them certain things.
Hmm.
But in many cases we have to rebaptize conditionally because we're just not sure.
A couple of these again are location questions, and I will give the same answer as Excellency gave last time, which is please. We will get back to you. Father Bayer will get back to you with a potential answer. This first one, I live in Northwest Kansas. I'm 75 years old. I've been searching for a valid traditional Catholic priest to provide me with the sacraments not far from the little town in which I live. Please let me know where I can go. So Father Bayer will be in contact with something there. Same for this gentleman. I'm writing to ask for a recommendation near Frankfurt, Germany, Your Excellency.
Frankfurt is on the border of France. Now, France has a number of traditional masses, but again, we would have to. I'd have to look and see what's the closest thing for him. As Germany might. I'm not very familiar with the situation in Germany, but I could find out a lot.
The IMBC have a regular mass in the French-speaking part of Switzerland, Your Excellency, which wouldn't be so very far from Frankfurt, right?
Not too far, no, not too bad. That's and then, but Frankfurt is close to the border of France, and France has a lot of masses.
Do you have any priests in the Rapid City, South Dakota area? The following sentence says, I see they have Fraternity of St. Peter and a monthly SSPX. I hope you are there too.
Unfortunately, well, I would say with the cold that we have, I'd say fortunately we're not there, but no, I'm only kidding. We're not there. No, we need many, many more priests before we could do anything like that.
But I suppose in the question, Your Excellency, is it true that we are an option just like the Fraternity of St. Peter and the SSPX?
No,
I think that's the way this question is phrased.
No. We have a very specific position, and that we require people to understand and accept the position that we take with regard to the Novus Ordo hierarchy.
So if you are going to the Fraternity of St. Peter or you're going to the Society of St. Pius X, you're probably not coming to our masses. So you have further questions, the person with the Rapid City, South Dakota. Father, of course, will be in contact with you, but just a few more points there.
Mm-hmm.
Fort Collins, Colorado, that was another location given. I'll give that to Father Bayer to reach back out.
Yes, we would have to look up what is available where. We're just not sure.
This person had been listening to the live streams, Your Excellency, and they say, I'm wondering, however, given everything you say, am I not to go to any mass? I have access to the Novus Ordo, SSPX, and the SSPV, and I also want to make a general confession.
Where SSPV? Where?
Well,
that's the question. See, I don't know.
This person doesn't give an exact location, but they say they have access to all three. But I think they're wondering which of those can they go to.
Well, I need to know more information.
Okay, so we will get back to you on that, and His Excellency will respond. Your Excellency, I emailed recently, and I got a response that was very intellectual. I need a little more clarity, if possible. I was asking if the Institute believes the Novus Ordo Mass is invalid, especially the Eucharist. Is the actual host not real? Sorry to sound crude or ignorant. I'm trying to be specific in this email, but I'm dealing with serious health problems and I cannot get to the Novus Ordo Parish Latin Mass. I think she's referring to the indult. So I'm very disturbed with the local Novus Ordo and I don't know what to do. Is it true that the Novus Ordo Mass is fake and is not a valid sacramental Mass?
Well, I think I said that one of the biggest problems is, even apart from the rite of the Mass, is that most of the priests are ordained by bishops who were in turn consecrated according to the new rite of consecration, which was introduced in 1968. So there's virtually no bishops left that were consecrated validly. That new rite of consecration is invalid, and Archbishop Lefebvre said that back in the 1970s. It's invalid, because I said, is it doubtful? He said, no, it's invalid. And so So that's the problem, is that your priest is not validly ordained in most cases. It'd be a very, very elderly priest, to be very exceptional. But also that the rite itself is a Protestantized rite, and deserves the name of a non-Catholic rite for various reasons. And if you use a non-Catholic rite, you invalidate. That's the general principle.
So, with this person's serious health problems, could a possible sick call be arranged for this person, Your Excellency?
Depends on where he is, and you see, I have more information.
All right, so we will go, Father Bayer, as usual. We're piling up work for
Yes.
Father Bayer during these streams.
He's in Louisiana right now.
Right. He's got plenty to do. We'll do a roll call here through some of the locations, Your Excellency. Cambridge.
Which Cambridge?
Cambridge, UK. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Budapest. We think we know who that one is, Your Excellency.
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
County Mayo, Ireland. Melbourne. Binghamton, New York. Atlanta, Georgia. Twin City, Georgia. Croatia. London. Cutchogue. Arkansas.
Yes.
Mordor on the Potomac. New Hampshire. Dendermonde,
Belgium,
New Hampshire, Tillamook, Oregon, the People's Republic of California, Tucson, New Hampshire, Tokyo. That's a new one. I don't think we've had a Tokyo.
We never had Tokyo. No, we never did.
Riverton, New Jersey. I don't know who that might be, Your Excellency.
I can't imagine who that might be.
Peabody, Massachusetts. Laredo, Texas, Seattle, Washington. Adrian, where is Adrian, Michigan, Your Excellency?
Adrian is south of Detroit, toward Toledo, right on 75. Yeah.
East Texas, Greenfield, Wisconsin, Toronto, Ontario, Huntington Beach, Edinburgh, Virginia, Ocala, Florida, and Seattle, Washington. Okay, so there's plenty there.
Mm-hmm.
We'll start with our first super chat of the day from Traditional Catholic 1985, 14 Canadian dollars. Thank you, Traditional Catholic. If the Transfiguration was our Lord not suppressing his divine glory, is it that during his agony, his passion, our Lord withdrew the appearance of his glory and denied himself divine consolation?
Well, the Transfiguration, okay, it was, yes, he released his divine glory, you might say. That was being suppressed in his ordinary daily life. Yes, during his passion, he wanted to experience everything that a human being would experience in such a case. And that's why he said, my God, why hast thou abandoned me? He wanted to feel that a person in such a circumstance might feel that. That was part of his passion. That's explained by Gary Goulagrange. He did whatever is necessary to have that feeling. See, so he did deny himself divine consolation. However, in his sacred human intellect, he always had the beatific vision. See, so whatever, we don't know exactly how he did all of that, but he always had the beatific vision, but he also wanted to do what was ever necessary to feel all of the interior agony of dying on the cross. It is mysterious, all right? So, I mean, it's
not easily explicable.
No.
Jimmy Hunjin, 100 pounds. Thank you, Jimmy. In the recent Vatican communication, it appears Cardinal Touchy Smoochy Fernandez has forced Father Pagliarani into that most Novus Ordo of exercises, dialogue. Considering that Cardinal Kisses stated that the text of Vatican II can't be corrected, what hope is there for the SSPX?
Well, either they have to be disobedient to and disloyal to the quote-unquote Holy Father, or they have to be disloyal to Archbishop Lefebvre. Archbishop Lefebvre wrote a whole book, I Accuse the Council. See, so, and he was always critical, particularly of religious liberty. So for them to accept the council, it would be to be disloyal to Archbishop Lefebvre. On the other hand, if they reject the council, they are disloyal to the person that they say is the Pope of Rome. So take your pick. Which one? They have painted themselves into a corner.
What did you think when you saw that photo op with Father Pagliarani and that creature, Your Excellency?
Tacho, and you have to pronounce that correctly.
It's Tacho, just like it's Bugnini.
Yeah, Tacho. Well, I mean, it just says it all. I mean, why would you want to be even within a mile of that person? These are the heretics that have given us all of this rot that we are sacrificing our lives to repel. Why are you there? What do you want from them? What do they have to give? You see? And also, it's a bit ridiculous to go and say to them, oh, we think you're the Holy Father. We think that you are the Pope of Rome. You have the power of Christ to teach, rule, and sanctify the church. But we're going to do a schismatic act no matter what you say. I mean, why have the conversation? And that's why, correctly, I mean, I'm not trying to praise Tacho, but he said, you have to withdraw from the consecrations in order even for us to talk. I mean, it would be like going to somebody's car, taking your gun out and say, I'm going to steal your car. And if not, I'm going to shoot you. You know, why don't you just consent to my taking your car? It's the same thing. They are saying we're going to commit a very grievous, objectively, a grievous sin of schism, a grievous mortal sin of schism, unless you, no matter what you say, no matter whether you permit it or not. I mean, I think the whole thing is ridiculous. Why they're going to him, why they're even talking to him.
Do you see anything in that, Your Excellency? I mean, he's got a big smile on his face. It's a photo op. Does this telegraph that they're looking to do a deal, that they're going to go as far as they can within what they consider the official structures?
Yes, that's their whole, that has been their process or their policy since the mid-1990s. Archbishop Lefebvre, before he died, said no more negotiations with Rome, until they return to the faith. But they have apparently ignored that because obviously Rome has not returned to the faith. They have obviously ignored that, and they have been pushing this soft pedaling of the whole relationship with the modernists since the mid-1990s. What's that, 30 years? And so this is nothing new, that they are going to them with this hope of getting some sort of approval from the modernist heretics who have virtually destroyed the church. It makes no sense whatsoever. Nothing makes sense. What they should do is call out, as they say now. In other words, they should prepare something like a liber accusationis, something that the Abbé de Nantes did against Paul VI in the early 70s, which convinced me to be a sedevacantist when I read it in the early 70s when I was at Econ. And he listed all of the things that Paul VI did. And when you read it, you think, how could this man be the Pope? And now you could do a huge volume of that stuff. I mean, after all these years, what's that, over 50 years now, 60 years of apostasy, they should prepare something like that and say, this is why we must do what we propose to do, because you people are destroying the Catholic faith, and this must be done. That would be logical and correct and very, very effective with regard to what everybody who has any inclination to Catholicism is thinking. I mean, that rings true in people's minds. Yes, look at what they've done to the church. We have to do something about it. But to go to them who are the very destroyers, the very unfaithful, and say, please give us bishops. And the request is ridiculous. Why do you need these bishops? The Dominicans don't have their own bishops. The Jesuits don't have their own bishops. No order in the church ever had its own set of bishops, as if, a personal possession. you would, when they needed ordinations, they would go to the local bishop of the diocese and say, please ordain our Dominicans or our Jesuits. I
I
mean, the
think they're
whole,
looking for the Opus Dei model, Your Excellency, that personal prelature where they're not accountable to anyone else and they can just quote unquote report to the Holy Father.
well, yeah, Opus Dei and all the others, yeah, they might have their personal bishops, you might say, but that's because they have accepted the Novus Ordo, the Vatican II, and the whole Novus Ordo. I mean, that's the price. Are they going to pay that price?
Well, since that announcement, Your Excellency, there's been an absolute explosion of commentary. Archbishop
Mhm.
Vigano, Bishop Waugh, there's been all sorts of statements. Bishop Fillet gave a sermon. Have you had a chance to look at any of these or read any of these? What are your reflections?
Yes, I saw Bishop Waugh, his open letter. I thought that he said many excellent things in it, that this is the high time for the Society of St. Pius X to call a spade, just what I just said, and to accuse them. However, he did make a certain reference to an assembly, which, given his recent comments about electing a pope, I think was a veiled reference to that, and that's something I could not agree with. But the fundamental content of his letter, I thought, was excellent, and telling the SSPX what they need to do and to abandon this crazy path that they're on.
Archbishop Vigano or Bishop Fillet, did you have a chance to look at either of those?
I did not see Archbishop Vigano's interview. I did listen to Bishop Fillet's sermon. And here again, it's the elephant in the room business. He's saying that we have to do this in order to save souls. And he talks about the situation in the church, how it's terrible and everything, as if the hierarchy is simply closing their eyes to it, and they're innocent and just incompetent, and it's all of these terrible things are happening without the consent of this hierarchy. Because the problem is not that they are sleeping or anything like that. He compared it to, if you see a fire and the firemen are not there, you're going to help to put it out. That's the analogy that he used. The firemen are there and they're setting the house on fire. You see, I mean, that's the reality that's before us.
Hmm.
And so he's just talking around it and not facing what everybody knows. It's the elephant in the room. And it's that this hierarchy has been proposing and pushing and imposing a false religion upon the Catholic Church since the 1960s. It started with Vatican II, and it hasn't ended. It has gotten worse and worse and worse. That's the reality, and everybody knows it. So he's trying to paint this picture that we're really helping, we're really doing what the Holy Father wants, and that is the salvation of souls. Also, you cannot carry on any kind of Catholic apostolate without the approval of the Catholic hierarchy. That is the very constitution of the Catholic Church. So no matter how much you want to help put out the fire, whatever you want to say, if you do not have the approval of the fire department, you are not able to do anything in the Catholic Church. Because you need, for an authentic apostolate, you need the approval ultimately of the Roman Pontiff and the local bishop. That's the constitution of the Catholic Church.
You need to, in a sense, have a license or a certification.
Yes, it's not just, well, I see a fire, I'll throw a pail of water on it.
Right. About a week ago, Your Excellency, you did questions for the rector on the SSPX consecrations. As of today, there are 12,000 views of that video. Okay. And two of the most frequently appearing comments were, one, well, aren't you an illicitly consecrated bishop without papal mandate? Who are you to talk? That was the first one, Your Excellency.
Okay, I'll answer that in a minute.
And the second one was a quote shared by a friend of mine. Someone said, bishops for thee, but not for thee. I think they're referring to the Chinese Catholic bishops that say, well, the Chinese Catholic bishops were able to have consecration without papal mandate. And it looks like Leo is cozying up to them. Why not for the SSPX? So those are the two frequent comments I saw in that video.
Both of those comments presume that Leo is a true pope, right? If Leo were Catholic, and because he's a blatant heretic, but if he were Catholic, I would not be a bishop. because there would be no reason for me to be a bishop. I always tell people I was much happier as a priest. I mean, being a bishop is very difficult, actually. I really don't have any attraction to it. There'd be no reason. Again, we're talking around the main problem. The elephant is standing there, enormous in the room. The elephant is that these people are not true popes, not true bishops, in the sense that they lack authority to teach, rule, and sanctify the church because they are imposing heresy on the church. That is the elephant. All right. And any kind of criticism that does not admit that means that they have missed the whole point.
There's a very strong emotional reaction. A lot of the comments were, it has built up. I think if the internet were around in the way that it is now, in 1988, we would have seen a lot more, Your Excellency. But since 1988 to now, we're in 2026, the emotional attachment to the SSPX from the faithful has built up such that their response to your, I think, just criticisms were, well, how dare you, effectively. There were no arguments counter to the points that you had made. And again, accusing you,
ever.
Right?
How do you?
And as you noted, if he is a true pope, he could regularize an irregular episcopal consecration. It's within his power to do so. So if you do have Chinese Catholic bishops, they could. But there's a different question of regularizing someone who had already gotten an illicit consecration, and someone who pre-announced to you 6 months in advance that we're going to do it, whether you like it or not. Those are two different positions entirely.
Oh, that is a complete repudiation of papal authority. Just a slap in the face to St. Peter, assuming, hypothetically, that Leo is St. Peter.
So we have a question from Jimmy Hunjin, 10 pounds. Thank you, Jimmy. In one of my devotional books, there is given a prayer following confession. Should absolution be refused? For what reasons would one be refused absolution?
Well, many reasons, either for lack of contrition or lack of purpose of amendment. Those are the reasons. Lack of contrition would be where the confessor feels that there is insufficient contrition. Adultery isn't too bad, or something like I have a girlfriend, but we like each other. Some comments like that. It's very rare, and especially among traditional Catholics, very, very rare. But the other would be, and more commonly, is lack of purpose of amendment. I'm living with a girlfriend, but I can't leave her. You see, the priest says you have to leave her. You have to separate. I can't do that. It's just impossible, you see. Then the priest would say, well, until I have to refuse you until you make this intention. All he has to do is intend to make purpose of amendment, you see, and to do whatever's necessary for that. Those are the two reasons why you would be refused.
And that lack of willingness to change, does that imply a lack of true sorrow for the sin?
Yes. Yes. See, true sorrow means I'll never do it again. But if you're going to go back to your live-in girlfriend, and I'm giving an example, then you are not truly sorry.
We have a 10 Canadian dollar super chat from Yeater Skeeter. Any advice on going to a mass at the CMRI? They are the only option I have here in Ontario, in Canada, Your Excellency.
Well, all I can say is that they have certain pastoral practices and certain theological positions that are very much at odds with our own. And for that reason, I cannot recommend it. I mean, if you go, you go, but I'm not in a position to recommend.
Okay. Matthew Arthur, 5 Australian dollars. Thank you, Matthew. In Father Fahey's books, what does he mean by the devil being physically present at Freemasonic meetings? Did he appear as a human or in another form?
Well, don't forget the devil is a spirit, so he can be physically present anywhere. I never heard of a devil appearing at a Freemasonic meeting, but maybe he did. I don't know, but I think he means that there is the presence of the devil in those things, and I would certainly believe that. But the devil is physically present even when he's not visible. He's invisible.
Another $5 from Matthew Arthur. Can His Excellency please list 5 to 10 of the top biggest bags of dirt in history and why they were big bags of dirt? Brief summaries to respect his time. I think even brief, Your
Oh,
Excellency, let's just go with the top five. Your top five big bags of dirt,
that's a,
all time. Well, would Voltaire rank in the top five, Your Excellency?
oh, he's way up there. Yes, Voltaire is a tremendous bag of dirt. You know,
And why?
well, he uh, was the epitome of all of the unbelief and rage against the Catholic Church in the 18th century, in 18th century France. All right, and so he really, how would you say, he set on fire, you might say, all of the principles of the French Revolution, which was primarily a rage against the Catholic Church and the Catholic religion in France. That's why he was so violent. So yes, I would say he gets the first prize as big bag of dirt.
Really?
Yes,
Wow.
I think,
Okay.
yeah, there's a number of others. Let me Henry VIII. He is a big bag of dirt. Because he Protestantized England. Now, England became, with time, the most powerful and influential kingdom in the world, and went everywhere. And we are all speaking English. That is we're all children of the British Empire. Africa, Australia, New Zealand, name it, they've been there, you see. And so that if England had been Catholic, we would all not only be speaking English, but we would all be Catholic. You see, so he ruined that. You see, he destroyed that, and so he became, sort of a manure spreader rather than a spreader of truth and morality. So I would say the Protestantation of England was a major event in the competition for big bag of dirt.
So are
Okay.
you ranking him above or below Voltaire?
Let's come up with some of the others. The Napoleon is a
Okay.
big bag of dirt because he took all of the principles of the French Revolution and spread them all through Europe. And as a result, the Europe was infected with the very diabolical, demonic principles of the French Revolution. He had a hatred for the Catholic Church. He treated the clergy in a very immoral manner. In other words, a sense that without any respect. He imprisoned 2 popes. He was, but mainly for his spreading the revolution. That was the most horrid thing that he did. And he's praised as a great general and all that, but he lost the war. You could win all the battles, but if you lose the war, you're a loser.
to be fair, actually, it did take 3 different armies to get him. So
Yes,
it wasn't exactly
true.
a fair fight.
True. Well, you declare war on 3 different people. They're going.
Yes.
I think that's a fair fight.
Right. So Voltaire, Henry VIII, Napoleon. Do you want to put Rousseau in this top 5?
Rousseau, yes. Rousseau is another one in the French 18th century that has had a tremendous influence. He was an uneducated nut. That would be the best way to describe him. But he was a good writer and very popular, and people read him. And he has influenced political science to a great deal. He copied the whole idea of the social contract from John Locke, but he spread it out. You see, a lot of the ideas of the French Revolution came from England, and he spent time in England. And they learned things from these English who were influenced by Protestantism, see, and with political ideas that were very liberal. And they brought it to France, and in France everything explodes, so to speak. It's the French are very attached to ideas, and they get excited about ideas. So, and France was the leading country of the world at the time, so its influence was tremendous. So when you put Rousseau and Voltaire together with Napoleon, there you have
exploding bags of manure is quite an evocative image, Your Excellency.
Yes. So we have number 5. Let's see.
Where would you put Bismarck in your top 5?
I don't think so. No, I wouldn't put Bismarck there.
So he's
No.
only a medium bag of dirt. He's not a big bag of
Yes,
dirt.
I would say Lenin maybe is a big
Okay.
bag of dirt. Yes, yes.
And why?
Yes. Lenin. Well, he was the author. I mean, Russia is an extremely large country, very important country, enormous resources, and he overturned again what was, although Russian Orthodox, nonetheless a country that at least recognized God and Christ, you might say, and did away with the Tsar, and now then turned it into a country that essentially was run by the devil, and Russia has never really recovered from that even now. You see, there's still a lot of hemorrhaging from that point of view. So I would say Lenin, the introduction of communism into Russia, because that gave it credibility.
Would you rank him then? So we have downstream balls of dirt in Mao and Stalin,
Oh,
but you
yes.
would say Lenin outranks them because he's the reason that they came
Yes.
around.
Yes. If Russia had not gone communist, you would never have seen a Mao or a Stalin.
So let's try to order these. We have Voltaire, Henry VIII, Napoleon, Rousseau, Lenin. Who's at the top of that list, Your Excellency?
I'd say Voltaire gets the prize, yes.
Wow, okay. So then who's in second place?
Second place.
You got
Rousseau.
Henry VIII, Rousseau. So okay,
Yes.
so you put the philosophers above the rulers.
Well, ideas rule the world. That's an old saying. Ideas rule the world. And evil ideas, we have abortion because of evil ideas. See, that's why we have mass murderers and genocides because of evil ideas. So the ideas rule the world.
So corollary to pen is mightier than the sword.
Yes, yes. And Henry VIII is third, definitely, because he Protestantized England.
So then that leaves Napoleon and Lenin.
Yes, I would say Lenin is worse than Napoleon. Okay. So let's put Napoleon at the bottom.
I mean, that a big chagrin for Napoleon. He would hate to see himself fifth in any list, Your Excellency.
Right.
Much less in greatest bags of dirt of all time. But he'll have to settle for it wherever he is. He doesn't really care about where he ranks anymore in the world. Another one from Matthew Arthur, 10 Australian dollars. Thank you, Matthew. I thank His Excellency for encouraging research on tobacco. My conclusion, cigarette addiction looks risky, but less frequent cigar and pipe smoking seems safer than I first thought. So time to light up.
I don't know what, I never encouraged any research about
because I think someone had brought up cigarettes, Your Excellency, and you had talked about the fact that science has discovered more risks with cigarette smoking, I think, over time.
Well, yeah, I'm not an expert. I never smoked in my life.
All right, baptism questions, Your Excellency. I recently reconnected with Catholicism after a disappointing experience with Vatican II catechesis a few years ago, which made me give up. I want to be baptized but not by the secularist sect that has taken over the church. I am in Brazil, and there is only one parish in my area that is allowed to celebrate the traditional mass, but they are in full communion with the so-called current pope. There are not any SSPX chapels in my state yet. Given the exceptional circumstances, I am thinking of asking a practicing Catholic friend to perform my baptism with the right intention, of course. I believe it is valid based on the current great crisis and need. What do you advise me to do? Can I do this?
Well, again, I have to. Brazil is a huge country. I think it's bigger than the United States. And so, where are you in Brazil? That's one thing. And secondly, Father Bear, because we don't have priests, but there are priests in Brazil that are not in any way related to the modernists, and they could do the baptism. So we would just have to know where you are, and we could direct you that way.
Okay.
So Father Bear. Yeah, poor Father Bear. He's gonna
the live streams have turned into a giant to-do list for him, Your Excellency. Yeah. Let's abstract, I suppose, can we abstract to the point that he's trying to make? In what situation would it be permissible for you to ask someone to baptize you if you don't know any priests around, you can't get anybody to?
That would be legitimate in such an extreme case, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, baptism is necessary for salvation, but you have to make sure that it's done correctly.
I suppose they could take a video of it and show it to you to make sure.
Yes, the water has to run on the forehead, on the skin. It has to run. In other words, it can't just be sprinkled or something. It has to run on the forehead. And it's especially true of adults because usually little infants don't have any hair anyway, or very little. And it would get on the scalp, which is sufficient. But adults normally have hair, and that's considered doubtful if it only touches the hair. So it has to run on the skin of the head.
We have more questions on this, Your Excellency. I noticed in the supplementary material to your article of a few years ago on the validity of baptism that several of the photos you include seem to show candidates with such short and thin hair, including one baby, that it seems morally certain that the water will reach the scalp and flow. Is this not sufficient for validity? I note that several older authorities, including Henry Jones, S.J., etc., recommend that if the hair is very thick, one should either part it or baptize on the forehead. It follows that with ordinary hair, pouring straight on the crown of the head would be sufficient. Could you clarify?
Yeah, most newborns, now that's if they are baptized as newborns, are bald. All right. So, yes, he's right. It would flow validly on the scalp. That's correct. But many times people put off having their babies baptized until they're 2 years old. Or some babies are born with some hair, so I can't make a universal law about that. But I would say overall, what he's saying is true. But if you bring in a 2-year-old, there's going to be some hair there. The parting of the hair, I think, is a little dangerous, as a general rule, because some people have very thick hair and so forth. The way you do adults is that you make them bow their head like this and look up into the font. They look up like that, and then you baptize them on their forehead. That's the way you do adults.
And that was always the case.
There's no doubt at all, right?
All right. So I hope the person who sent that gets clarity that he was asking for. Your Excellency, I think my baptism was valid as it was in 1963. But I'm not sure about my confirmation. Is there a way that I can find out about my confirmation? Does it list the year of the confirmation?
I think it was 1971 or 72 that the new rite came in, and also they approved other oils besides olive oil. So you could use canola oil or something like that. And so again, the year and the bishop.
So that was, we're going to need more information. We'll email back and ask for that from that person.
That means usually they would confirm when you were 11 years old. That means that was after 1972. We redo them after 1972.
This is someone, Your Excellency, who has joined a traditional Catholic parish in the northeastern region and noted that you were able to give confirmations to some men who had driven up to see you in Pottstown. And is that something that you generally offer, or should they try to do that during the confirmation season when you're doing that? For example, you'll be doing it in the Pentecost time period in Pottstown coming up.
No. Well, perhaps not on the Pentecost. I'll be in France.
Right. In the Pentecost, in the time after Pentecost, actually.
Yeah. No, we do general confirmations every year. But if somebody can't make it at that time, or we can, confirmation doesn't take long. It's more the preparation for it. In other words, we have to again vet their baptisms. We have to make sure that they are properly instructed. So that's actually more difficult, but the confirmation probably takes less than 10 minutes.
Okay.
So yeah, we would do that in a case where for some reason or other they couldn't make it to the general one. That's a Father Bear thing again. Contact Father Bear.
It'll be added.
Going to burn up, I think.
As a reminder, if you have not already done so, please hit the like button as you're in the stream if you haven't done that, and let us know in the chat where you are watching or listening from. And I'll go through and start sharing some more of those again. Edinburgh, Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
Ocala, Florida. Seattle, Washington. Central Minnesota. Newfoundland.
Mm.
Do you think you know who that might be, Your Excellency?
I think I do because I talked to somebody before Christmas who was in Newfoundland, and he never called me back. He
Okay.
said, "I'm out with my wife Christmas shopping. Can I call you back?" I said, "That's fine." And but I never heard from him again. So,
Okay. Well, that's your sign there. We had
right.
some nominees from our English resident in France, Your Excellency, for the bags of dirt. Benjamin Franklin.
Oh, yes, yes,
We
yes.
miss? Did we miss an opportunity there?
Oh,
Um,
there's so many bags of dirt.
Robespierre,
Oh, yeah, yes, yeah, that definitely, yes, definitely, yes. Oh,
Luther.
Luther, yes. There's probably about 100 bags of dirt. The Luther is terrible. Yes, yes. No,
So
yeah.
those would be honorable mentions, Your Excellency.
Yes, yes. It's like the bronze medal or the silver medal. The Olympics.
Yeah. Somebody is saying, Your Excellency, that you said that you don't recommend the CMRI because you're theologically different, but how does that apply to St. Gertrude's, who are theologically different from you as well?
Well, because of the nature of the differences, St. Gertrude's takes a totalist position. That is that Leo is not the Pope either materially or formally. In other words, we would say he's formally not the Pope. That means he doesn't have the power, but he is validly elected. They reject that position, and that's known as totalism. All right. So, however, what is essential is that he's not the Pope. In other words, that is a theological dispute, you might say. And what is essential as far as getting along with them is that he's not the Pope. And I think they would feel the same way about us. See, but if somebody says he is the Roman pontiff, such as SSPX, that's a whole other thing. You see, because the Roman pontiff is defining of your Catholicism. You have to be in communion with the Roman pontiff. You have to and the position of the SSPX is such that it's just a token recognition of him, and there's no obedience, and they act as if he doesn't exist. That is not Catholicism. So that's very, very serious. As far as CMRI, they are conclavists, to my knowledge. In other words, I'm speaking only to my knowledge. That is, they see that having a conclave would be a legitimate thing to do. In other words, for traditional bishops to elect a pope would be legitimate. They think that it's not a good idea at this time, but the very fact that they would adhere to that is, I feel, very dangerous. They also, to my knowledge, are claiming to have jurisdiction over in the way that a pastor or a bishop would have jurisdiction over the faithful. We say no, we exist only for power of orders, and that is to sanctify the faithful by the sacraments and preaching, etc. But that we have no ability to rule the church or to rule the faithful. You see, that's a big, big difference. And I just think those are two. I mean, but they also tell people that ask them about an improper marriage. They tell them, after discussing their case, that they can consider themselves not married. I would call that an annulment, and I think that only bishops of dioceses can give annulments. You see, and that would be trespassing over into jurisdiction. Those are some of the and then other pastoral questions, that I won't go into, but those are things that divide us. You see, and we just can't have, say, working relationship with them. I think they're all in good conscience. I think they all mean well. I'm not trying to denigrate them. I'm just saying there are differences.
Now, you mentioned the word jurisdiction there, Your Excellency, and Father Disposito was doing catechism questions and answers at Pottstown a couple weeks ago. And someone was asking, and Father pointed out that the word jurisdiction applies to two different concepts, and sometimes people get this confused. Can you explain that a little further?
Well, there's a sacramental jurisdiction, which means that the bishop of the diocese permits you to function as a priest in his diocese, giving out sacraments, preaching, saying mass. That's sacramental jurisdiction, hearing confessions. Then there is jurisdiction to rule. That is making laws for people. You see, those are two different objects. And we're saying that in the present situation where there is no sanctification of souls going on, by the principle of epikeia, we can sanctify souls by means of the sacraments. And but that this is not a habitual sacramental jurisdiction. It's merely in every case it is legitimate because the Novus Ordo is perverting souls. But we would never say that we have the power, on the other hand, to rule the church in any way or to make laws for the church, as if a bishop of a diocese or even a pastor of a parish. See, that we are just sacrament machines, you might say.
Well, he also gave a fascinating use case example of supply jurisdiction when there is a pope, i.e., for the pope's confessor.
Yes, that's right.
And could you elaborate on that a bit?
Well, yeah. Well, it means that the pope has to give jurisdiction to the person that is hearing his confession, but I forget how it goes, frankly. But that he can't do that for some reason, so it's supplied. But that
because it would imply that he could forgive he has power over the person who's going to forgive his sins.
Yes, I know it becomes circular at that point. So yeah, he has supply jurisdiction.
We have North Jersey.
Okay.
Budapest. Yeah, the mailer Tarshal always confuses people in the chat. They think that the other person is in there. Budapest, Hungary, Ireland, Lubbock, Texas,
Lubbock,
yeah. Syracuse, New York, Pittsburgh, on the other side of the state from New York City. How's the weather? Is it still very cold? I wonder. I don't know how it is in Pittsburgh.
No, there's a warming trend going on. We're supposed to see, I think, 40 some degrees tomorrow, 48 degrees, and so we're going to get the Bermuda shorts on and the sandals. It's been very frigid cold for weeks, and the snow is still everywhere on the ground. It isn't melting. So we're going.
Consequences of global warming, Your Excellency. You just have to watch out.
According to Al Gore, we should all be burned up by now.
I know.
Remember all his predictions?
Right. Maryland, Firenze, so Florence for those who don't know.
Florence, yes, Italy, yes.
Suffolk County, Long Island.
That's Eastern Long
Island. I don't know how to. Is this maybe it's Ceará in Brazil? I don't know if that's a state or a.
No, I don't know.
That's you should start a Southern Maryland mission. There are 8 indults in the 3 counties. And Stephen can do a crab food crawl to scout it out. His Excellency is happy to have more missions. What he's going to tell you is he needs more priests. So you have to pray for vocations to send laborers into the harvest. Okay. Truckee, California. Where is Truckee, Your Excellency? Do you know?
Truckee is Lake Tahoe area.
Okay. Greetings from Malaysia, just around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
High Spire, Pennsylvania. That's over by Harrisburg. I know some geography.
Oh, okay. All right,
fine. Tromsø, Norway.
All right.
College Station, Texas.
I don't know where that is.
Another Northern New Jersey people.
Yes.
And the Big Island, Hawaii.
All right.
Let me get that removed. All right. So from our friend in Hungary, Your Excellency, Christoph Szilag, 10,000 Hungarian forints. Thank you, Christoph, and good to see you. Recent revelations make it more and more probable that part of the ruling class practices satanic sexual abuse and cannibalism. What level of knowledge should a layman acquire around these topics to avoid both undue obsession and dangerous naivete? Obviously, Your Excellency, all the horrible things we're seeing in the Epstein files, it gets worse all the time. I think that's what Christoph is alluding to.
Well, there's not much you can do about it. Is it a surprise that these people are corrupt? Are we surprised? I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised everybody's all worked up.
He's wondering how much obviously he's talking as the father of a family. How much should he inform himself on these issues in order to be properly prepared?
I think you should forget about them, frankly. What can you do about it? That these people are corrupt. Is the sky blue? What else? You can't change
I think that idea of corruption, Your Excellency, has been sitting in the background, and people know that. But when you hear about child sacrifice, when you hear about eating children, when you hear about these other things that have started to come out, that's perhaps that shock
Well,
goes
I think
beyond.
you need proof positive for something that is as outlandish as that. You need proof positive, not simply hearsay, and before you would even think about it.
Hmm. All right. We have Duncan Marr for $50. Thank you, Duncan. My deepest thanks to His Excellency, as well as Father Bayer and everyone at the seminary for helping my family connect with Father Ercole, and means a great deal to us that we can begin to join the faith.
Good.
Um, Corey for $25. Thank you, Corey. Your Excellency, are you familiar with the works of Father Heinrich Pesch on economics? He was the German Jesuit whose works were influenced by Rerum Novarum. Some say that his economic philosophy influenced Quadragesimo Anno.
Well, no, I'm not. He's a very famous theologian. He wrote, I think, 3 volumes in German, which I haven't gotten to yet. Let's say that. But no, I am not familiar with Father Pesch's economic principles.
Well, Corey, if you want to send His Excellency a book, he always gets these things in the mail, so he'll be happy to look into it if you can find a copy.
They have something on that in the library pretty soon.
All right. Andrew McFarland for $20. Thank you, Andrew. Pray for an increase in vocations and toss some cash into the collection for the seminary as well. Thank you, Andrew, and thank you for the encouragement to your fellow laymen.
Mm-hmm.
Valeria, $10. Thank you, Valeria. Your Excellency, I just wanted you to know Father Bayer is now offering catechism to my children. We're very grateful. His closest mission is 4+ hours away, and we will do our best to attend as soon as possible.
Good.
Diane for $5. Thank you, Diane. Your Excellency, is there a particular reason why February is listed as the month of the Holy Trinity in your calendar?
That is a question for Father Eldracker, because I did not do the calendar.
Okay, so knowing Father Eldracker, he watches these live streams, so he'll send an answer, Diane, and we'll pass that on to you.
Yeah, that's a Father Eldracker question.
Marie Catherine for $5. Thank you, Marie. Does Father Bayer give adult catechism at the college level? Is it 1-to-1 or is it viewing a live stream?
Question for Father Bayer.
Marie, I think it varies. I think he actually does both, but if you send it in, he can connect you and do that. Now, other priests, Father Bayer is not the only one giving catechism. Father Desposito does. A lot of other priests are doing catechism all the time, so it doesn't only have to be Father Bayer, so it doesn't make it sound like we're putting all the work on him, but he can connect you with other clergy.
We are putting all the work on him.
Okay, it is not I who said so. Jimmy Hunchen, £20. Thank you, Jimmy. During the sermon, Bishop Villay had the cheek to quote JP2, didn't call him a saint.
Mm-hmm.
Being concerned about heresy in the church, that great pontiff clearly didn't have the same reservations about idolatry in 1986.
Or kissing the Quran,
right?
Which denies that Christ died on the cross. Yeah, so no, they are living in a world of dreams. They are not in contact with reality. The SSPX. I'm sorry to say that.
Is sending a child to a Novus Ordo school worse than sending a child to a public school? I understand that it is a grave error to think that education could or should be neutral instead of Christian, but I'm wondering which is worse. Another battle of the dirtbags.
It is a battle. I mean, in both cases, they will be corrupted, but in different ways. The Novus Ordo is in a sense worse because it represents the church, so that means their religion is corrupted. In the other place, their political and cultural ideas and their morals will be corrupted. Which do you prefer?
Terrible choice, Your Excellency.
No, I would say hook up to our homeschool program.
There's all sorts of possibilities.
In Florida, they can take care of that.
Yeah, so I'm visiting California this week, and I had a chance to see the QAS Flex program that they have in here, and obviously they're 3 hours behind, so some of the students are not attending the classes live. They have recordings, so there are lots of options with the sisters now. Really, technology is making their reach in a sense like bilocation a bit, Your Excellency. The bilocation is somewhat enabled by streaming and technology, so it's something to take advantage of, although they're not going to get that $9,000 subsidy that you alluded to unless they live in Florida, right?
Move to Florida, they get that.
His Excellency was leading a one man Florida Board of Tourism and the relocation on the last stream. Does His Excellency recommend any secular graduate programs in theology or church history? I'm a lawyer, but I would love to finally complete religious studies with a master's of some kind.
Secular postgraduate studies in theology
or church history.
Church history. I mean, you'd have to read a book. I mean, there's nothing available from the point of view of teaching. If that's what he's asking. I mean, no, nothing.
Right.
So anything that there is would be tainted with modernism. But there are many books that he could read on those things, and that would be something I would have to. I couldn't do that off the top of my head. It depends. He'd have to be more specific.
But there wouldn't be any sort of formal programs that you could recommend that he attend. I think that's probably
not
what
that I know of. No, I mean, he could tune into our seminary courses.
Yes, that's always available. That's on MHT Seminary Courses. That's its own channel,
Mhm.
and there's lots and lots and lots. Father Disposito and the team work very hard on that. So there's someone here who said, "I'm a single father who holds the traditional Catholic faith." It's a long, rather personal one, so that one will be answered privately. Just as a reminder, for general questions that don't have specific particulars, His Excellency is never going to try to answer that publicly. It's private. Your Excellency, I'm wondering about my job. I work for a company that puts on bridal and home shows. The home expos are on Saturday and Sunday, and the bridal shows are usually on Sunday from 1 to 5 p.m. I sell the booth space for the vendors. I tell them dates, attendance, booth dimensions, and the price. They buy this or that. My question is, am I sinning? Am I in a sinful profession? What can I do to avoid potential sin? Should I not sell booths that are selling products? I very much thank you.
Yes, you can't do public commerce on Sunday without a sufficient reason. And that would be public commerce on Sunday. And you wouldn't have a sufficient reason. The only thing would be you would be fired from your job or something like that if you didn't do it. And that's fairly common today.
When we were talking about this question before the stream, you also had an interesting comment actually about the nature of the bridal industry these days.
Yes, the bridal gowns look like bathing suits today. And so they are grossly immodest. And I would say to sell those or promote those in any way would be seriously sinful.
So you would say that that's even maybe the first thing to think about rather than the Sunday.
Yeah, what you're selling, yes.
Right. LPRI4XP, $50. Thank you, LP. If someone is in the state of mortal sin, I understand you are cut off from God's grace. So what happens to your prayers in that period of time? Is it Our Lady who hears us, the saints?
Well, cut off from God's grace, cut off from sanctifying grace, yes. You no longer are in God's good graces in that sense. You're no longer friends with God, you might say. But he doesn't cut off his actual grace. His actual grace urges you to penance. You see, that's a whole different kind of grace, you might say. So, no, and that's the time to pray. If you fall into sin, the first thing you should do is pray, and pray for contrition, true contrition, purpose of amendment, which we talked about. And you pray to Our Blessed Lady. You can pray to the saints for intercession, but you're ultimately praying to God when you do that. But prayer is the most important thing you should do, and you should confess and then lead a good life. But
I think
don't forget, our Lord came for sinners. He didn't come for the just, he said. And look at, he went to St. Peter, and St. Peter said, I am a sinful man. Depart from me because I am a sinful man. He made him the Pope. St. Mary Magdalene, you see, many other, woman caught in adultery, many others who were sinful people were favored by our Lord. He came for sinners, not for the just. He even said that, you see. And the church exists for sinners. It doesn't really, in a way, I shouldn't say it, but it sanctifies the just, yes, but priests are there to save sinners. Penance, you see, and preaching and all that is to draw sinners. So sinners are very welcome in the church, in the sense that they are welcome to do penance.
On this point of sinners, I noted to you some time ago that Bishop Barron sometimes starts his sermons by saying, "Hello, fellow sinners." And I asked, "Are you gonna consider incorporating that practice?" Why or why not?
No, I don't think that's appropriate. I mean, everybody sins. Nobody is exempt from even venial sin except our Blessed Lady.
I think what's strange is, in a sense, by using that address, he's not keeping that point of he's not a fellow sheep, he's a shepherd. He's supposed to help
Yeah.
you. That idea of fellow sinners is
Yes, well, that's typical Novus Ordo, one of the guys approach.
right.
Mm.
I think I would rephrase this from LP or XZ, because obviously, as you know, prayer is always available to you
Yes,
in whatever your situation. But are you able to? I think maybe this is the question: are you able to commit meritorious acts during a
not
state of
when
mortal
you're in
sin?
a state of mortal sin, no, but you can pass into the state of sanctifying grace by an act of perfect contrition, which simply means that you are sorry for your sins for having offended the goodness of God, as opposed to imperfect contrition, which is sorry for your sins because of some, usually fear of hell or shame or something else, some other human consideration. So you are already in the state of grace if you achieve perfect contrition, and it's really not that hard if you pray for it. But you still must confess. You have to have the intention of confessing.
Teodoro Boggio, $5. Thank you, Teodoro. Is the Novus Ordo rite of the diaconate also invalid? And why, compared to the Roman rite, is a permanent diaconate prudent in normal times for the church?
As far as the first question, I don't know because I never examined the diaconate rite. Is a permanent diaconate prudent in normal times for the church? No. The There were deacons. I mean, for example, St. Lawrence was a deacon. It's not unheard of, but they were clergy who were not married. You see, this idea of permanent diaconate, that means your mailman or your plumber is a deacon on Sunday. And many of the invalid baptisms happened as a result of that because they are not properly trained.
Regarding this, there was a questions recently about someone who had received, for example, if you had an invalid diaconate or an invalid presbyteral ordination, would a valid episcopal consecration cure that?
No,
Why or why not?
because the episcopal consecration presumes that you are already a priest.
So that idea of I got a higher order, so this will fix a lower order, you have to have the
No,
lower order.
that only is true with regard to the priesthood and the lower orders leading up to priesthood. So if you just receive priesthood, you're also receiving all of the others with it. You see, that's true. So that this priesthood does not presuppose that you are a deacon in order to be ordained. You see, whereas episcopacy does presuppose that you are a priest. See, it's the perfection, you might say, or the fullness of the priesthood. That's why you have to be a priest in order to receive the fullness of the priesthood.
Yeater Skeeter for 10 Canadian dollars. I think His Excellency already answered this question a little bit more specifically about the theological differences, the CMRI. And then as far as masses in Southern Ontario, we're going to have to add that to the Father Bayer pile, and he will get back to you. He is going to Canada recently for some sick calls and some other administrative things, and it's not. Southern Ontario is not a million miles away from Quebec, Your Excellency, but
It's almost a million miles. Canada is a very big place. Yeah,
yes.
it's a long. I've done it. I've done Ontario to Quebec, and it's a long, long ride.
Okay.
You have no idea. I don't know what you got in geography when you were. But Windsor is right across the water from Detroit, where we have a church in Fraser, which is Detroit suburbs, and so that's Southern Ontario. As a matter of fact, Detroit is the only city in the whole United States which is north of Canada. It sits north of Windsor.
Mm.
So anyway, yes, there's that.
All right. So we'll add that to Father Bayer's pile, and hopefully Yeater will be able to help you with that.
Right.
Teodoro Boggio, $5. Thank you, Teodoro. Is the Novus Ordo Eucharistic fast of 1 hour an intrinsically evil discipline, or would it be fine if a true pope allowed it?
The Pope a true Pope has control over all of those laws. So it might be imprudent. You see, the Pope, a true Pope, is not preserved from imprudence in his laws, but he cannot prescribe something which is evil. See, that would be harmful to souls. So, I mean, I would say that would be very imprudent to say only 1 hour, because actually the midnight fast was something very, very old. And the only reason why Pius XII changed that was because of the permission to do afternoon masses for one reason or another. And that's all within the power of the Pope. But he did say, where possible, do the midnight fast. And Pius XII said that. See, so no, all of that is within the power of the Pope. And yes, it could be criticized privately with it. Well, I think that was a bad idea. There are many cases in history where popes made imprudent decisions.
Was that 3-hour fast something related to science research, Your Excellency, that there would have been digestion, digestive cycle would have been completed?
Pius XII was very interested in all of that, and he talked to a lot of doctors. And yes, that there would have been sufficient digestion, that your stomach would be empty.
Okay. Mailer Tarshall, $20. Pray for Catholics who do not pray well enough. I think that is a good exhortation, and thank you for your generosity, Mailer. 2 questions here, Your Excellency. I'll read the first one first. Theodore Borgio for $5. Which regions and places of France have historically been faithfully Catholic and neither Gallican nor Jansenist?
Brittany and Vendée, and that is to the west of Paris. And the Brittany Peninsula and Vendée, those are the very, very traditional areas of France. And there's a lot of tradition that is going on there right now. And our priests are in Brittany, in Nantes, which is the capital of Brittany. There are other areas. Some areas have the contrary, like the east was more Protestant. There were some Protestants, and the north was Protestant. I shouldn't say that. A certain presence of Protestants in the north, in the extreme north of France. And Jansenist, well, I mean, there was Port Royal, and Louis XIV destroyed it. But Jansenism is something that crept into the French mentality, sorry to say. There's still in many cases, an overtone of Jansenism, and that's why they accepted, recognize, and resist with no problem, because that's what the Jansenists did. Oh, he's the Pope, but it doesn't apply to us. You see, what he said doesn't apply to us, and he misunderstood what we were saying, and so forth. And they also were Gallicans. Gallican is, well, he's the Pope, but we don't, unless the teaching is approved by the King of France and the Parliament of France, then it's not accepted in France, you see, but he's still the Pope. And so that's why they're comfortable with recognize and resist. And I'm not saying this about all French, but there is a certain attitude that you see there that you don't see in other countries. Those other countries understand what the papacy is, and that you can't, it's either yes or no. In other words, Rome has spoken and the case is closed. In France, Rome has spoken, but we can, ignore it. You see, I'm saying that, and there's some very, very faithful French. I'm not saying, it's just when I was among them, I noticed a certain attitude like that among some of them. So I think there's a residue of that in France.
Yes. As you say that residue, Your Excellency, I think there's been allusions to the fact that even, for example, in St. Teresa's convent, there were some residue of Jansenism among her superiors. It just, even though it had been dealt with, it still had elements inside the French church.
And, the very severe decoration of chapels, where it looks like a Protestant church when you walk in, that's Jansenist. And you do see that in certain cases in France. And was Blaise Pascal a Jansenist? Yes, he was. Yes, definitely.
So we have the Kumbaya question here, Your Excellency, from CM Raindrops for $10. Thank you. What would it take for all the Sedevacantists bishops to all sit down together and talk?
I'll talk to anybody. I mean, I'll talk to an atheist. I'll talk to anybody at all. I mean, I would have no trouble sitting down and talking to, anybody at all. I don't think it would take a miracle or anything like that. It's not that we hate each other or, we think horrible thoughts about each other. It's just that we disagree. We can't work together with certain ones, you know. So but I'll talk to anybody.
I suppose that the question is, what is there to talk about potentially? Maybe that's the question, Your Excellency. People want all the bishops to come together because they have this sense of, wouldn't it be nice? But I think that's the question: is what is it that we would sit down and talk about? I suppose.
Well, talk about the differences, and that might end up in some heated discussions. I think that we know each other's positions well enough. They're stated in writings, etc., and speeches, that there is an irreconcilable difference there. Now, somebody would have to give on something. You see, I don't think sitting down at a table would be the way to do it. I think writing things would be better, because when you write something, you digest it. So if you say something at a table, it doesn't necessarily get deep into your mind. You have to turn it over in your
mind. Anchor 9078 for $5. Thank you, Anchor. Are Roman Catholics who are British citizens encouraged to sing God Save the King purely in a patriotic sense?
Well, they could. He's the King of England. He's the head of state. Yes, there's nothing against it that would, a national anthem, a recognition. As a matter of fact, part of the, let's say, the agreement with Pius IX, as far as the restoration of a hierarchy in England, was that there be a prayer for the monarch at the end of Mass. And that was observed. I noticed it in British missals, that the prayer for the monarch. And when I went to England for the first time, I said, do we pray for Elizabeth after the Mass? And they all said, no, we don't do that. But I mean, despite her religion, etc., I mean, she was the head of state. So that's a whole different world. You see, the head of state. I mean, the head of state is, even the Roman emperor was the head of state. You see, he was a pagan. So.
This is a question. What happened to the pre-Vatican II Catholic Show YouTube channel? Teodoro Boggio for $5. Thank you, Teodoro. I think it was just an administrative question, because one of the earliest interviews on that was with His Excellency. The host did that, but I think there was some question of monetization with the channel, and he's getting that fixed. So I think that's available, and I'll do my best to try to find that for you. But they are around. It's just I think a linking question. Marie Catherine, $2. When will Leo the cat make a guest appearance?
Well, Leo is a very shy person, and would not sit here for, he would just run away as soon as he saw all of these people and all these no, he would not. No.
But thanks for asking, Marie. But at the moment, it seems unlikely. Martina for $10. Thank you, Martina. Your Excellency, I'm a nonstop consumer of your online lectures.
Okay, good. No D in my name, by the way.
Yeah, it's just Sanborn, no D. Yeah. JGB 777 for $50. Thank you, JGB. Getting back to basics, what missal do the faithful use at Institute Masses?
Anyone that they can get their hands on. I think the best one overall is the Father Lassance. It's expensive, but they're all expensive. The St. Andrews is good too. It was slightly tainted with what we call liturgical movement, but not to the point where you would not use it. But Father Lassance is, I think, the best one. So that's what I would recommend. It is available, but it's expensive. I think it's $80 or $90.
Well, just to clarify, I think the point is there is not an assigned missal, hand missal. And His Excellency has noted before, he's not necessarily a proponent that everyone needs to be using a hand missal during Mass. He's often made the case for using prayer books like Blessed Be God, so that you can follow the Mass that way. The faithful are not required at Institute chapels to use a hand missal.
No, it was common when I was a child in the 50s. People would say the Rosary during Mass. Yes, go ahead. The essential participation of the faithful is that they offer the Mass through the priest, and they offer their own sacrifices and their own good works through the priest. and those good works and sacrifices and sufferings are sanctified by their union with the sacrifice of the cross that is going on at the altar. That's the essential. See, an atheist can read a missal, an atheist can make the responses at Mass, an atheist can sing in the choir, but he can't do those Catholic pious acts that are interior acts. That's your true participation in the Mass.
Your Excellency, I imagine you still use the Code of Canon Law of 1917. In the current Code of 83, Canon 916 states that a person who is conscious of grave sin is not to celebrate Mass or receive the body of the Lord without previous sacramental confession, unless there is a grave reason and there is no opportunity to confess. In this case, the person is to remember the obligation to make an act of perfect contrition, which includes the resolution of confessing as soon as possible. Can you please tell me what the old code says for this, or what is the equivalent canon regarding the receipt of Holy Communion?
I don't know if it. Okay, go ahead. Let me answer that.
Okay.
I don't know if a canon in the old code covers that, but certainly moral theology would say you need to confess first before receiving communion. That you could be restored to the state of grace, as I said earlier, but you need to confess first before receiving communion.
So the first part of that code, Your Excellency, this Canon 916, the second part is receiving the body of the Lord, but the first is not to celebrate Mass. So this priest who within mortal sin,
a very then yes, a priest could do that. What is described there, even in the old traditional moral theology, he could do that, and because of the necessity, he has to have a necessity to offer Mass, like Sunday. Whereas a person never has a necessity to receive Holy Communion.
And this person asked if the 1917 code is available online, and I'm pretty sure that it is. Switching to the thesis, Your Excellency, how do we respond to the objection that the Pope-elect can create cardinals who are not valid priests? Canon law states that one must at least be a priest in order to be appointed a cardinal. So how do we argue that point? I am aware that in the past there were lay cardinals, citing Theodulf Myrtle, but current canon law requires that cardinals be priests.
Well, in principle, they are priests. In other words, the validity of an ordination is an invisible thing. You could conceivably have had some fault in the ordination or consecration of a bishop in the past because of something that was done wrong. But still, in principle and legally, he would be a bishop or a priest. And so all of those cardinals are ordained, probably according to the new rite, but they are in principle priests. In other words, that legally they are priests. But you can't tell unless you have a special Geiger counter or something whether it's actually validly ordained.
Right. So
a layperson could be elected pope and would be pope provided that he consent to be consecrated, a bishop. So he could hold the power of the papacy as a layperson provided he consent to be consecrated. So his consecration may not happen for another month. You see, but he would be pope as a layperson. Pius XII said that.
Right. As to the person who would elect, who would receive the election, Your Excellency, but I think regarding the electors, this is the citations this person gave. Canon 232: cardinals are men freely selected by the Roman pontiff from throughout the whole world who are at least constituted in the presbyteral order.
Yes, but if it's true for a pope, it's true for an elector.
So you're tying that over.
Yes, in other words, but they are legally priests. That's the point, is that they're not taking people who are legally lay people. They're taking people who have gone through an ordination process. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, if you cross the lines between factual and legal, you're going to make an error. And that's what the objection is doing.
All right. Jimmy, 120 pounds. Thank you, Jimmy. A Novus Ordo priest recently married 2 trans people with the permission of his archbishop. With this in mind, isn't this the most obvious loophole for women wanting to enter the Novus Ordo priesthood?
Sure. I'm all for the women becoming Novus Ordo priests. I'm totally 1,000% in favor of it. I think that they have been oppressed for a long time, and they really uh, achieve this. Yeah, there was a I don't know if it's the same case, but there was a case in Argentina recently where a priest married two transes, I think, and he got a wrist slap from the local bishop. Uh, and I also saw a poll that was taken that almost half of Novus Ordo priests would do such a marriage. You know, would you do this kind of marriage? And almost half said yes. That tells you something about the Novus Ordo, as if you didn't know already.
We do. Um, so Father LeMay has a question, Your Excellency. Is it permissible for a mother or father to consume the placenta of a newborn child after its birth? I think he's referring to the fact that in some countries, Your Excellency, there's a tradition that they save it, and then I think a month later it's put into a stew or something, and it's there's a lot of health reasons for it, but I think he's just asking if it's morally permissible.
I never read anything about that. It's the first time I ever heard about it. I know that cats eat it after they have had their babies.
Well, you're
They
see if it's done by a cat, then I mean it's pretty much infallible.
You're right. No, but I have never heard of that in my whole life. It sounds rather disgusting to me, frankly. You know, so.
That's not something that His Excellency has had to consider for himself, obviously. Andrew McFarland for $10. Thank you, Andrew. How is ecclesiastical Latin different from classical Latin? And what's a good book for self-teaching? This is a recurring question, Your Excellency. I feel like you answer this every other live stream. So,
well, grammatically, they are the same. There is no difference whatsoever. In pronunciation, they are different, and in style, they are different. So, classical Latin is going to use a much more stilted style, you might say. That's I guess that's it's going to see. Latin can throw around words, something like a jigsaw puzzle that you have to put together because of the endings. See, it's very conjugated and declined. So that's what makes it difficult. And the classical writers will write in a very stylish manner, you might say, so that it's more difficult to do that precise thing that you have to do with Latin. Ecclesiastical Latin, for the most part, is made for understanding. See, that it's just a living language where the author is having you understand something, and it's meant in most cases for students, you know. And so it's easier to read, but the grammar is absolutely the same. You might see slight differences in vocabulary. The church elaborated a vocabulary for its theology that you would not have seen in classical times.
So reminder.
A good book is there's a Church Latin for Beginners. That's by Lowe, Lowe, a British book. And there's another one that we're using now, which is, I would say, even better, but it has a few Novus Ordo things in it, like the liturgy of the word, and which we just skip. But it's a very thorough ecclesiastical grammar. It's by, I can't remember who it is. I don't teach that course, so.
I can't imagine you covering the liturgy of the word section, Your Excellency.
No, we just skip over those. But most of the examples and exercises are very good. And,
so Father LeMay follows up. Did His Excellency receive my 2 Christmas cards? I think he was being teased for that last time. I remember I did sort the mail, and when I looked to see that he had actually sent 2 separate Christmas cards, I wondered if it was a mistake.
Why he sent 2, I don't know. And he put, I don't know how many of his ordination cards in. You know, they were loaded with his ordination cards. So,
well, I'll take
the ones that he never sent me.
I'll take some if you want to leave some in my box, Your Excellency.
Okay. All right.
Someone is mentioning in the chat that in Pittsburgh they only have the Society St. Pius X and the Institute of Christ the King. Again, this is a recurring question. His Excellency answers this at least 5 times every live stream, but I don't think he can ever answer it too many times. Is it better to not go to Mass? What should I do instead? And how about communion?
Well, if they are in, you know, if both of those are recognizing St. Pius X, is that it? And what is it?
Christ the King? Institute of Christ the King.
Yes, they're both in communion with the Novus Ordo, or claim to be. And so that's something that is intrinsically wrong. You just can't go there. I would say again, either organize yourselves in such a way that we would say mass there. We're only probably 3 hours away from you, or maybe 3.5 hours away. We would actually like to see a mass center in Pittsburgh area, but we need somebody to be a coordinator, somebody to put it together. The success of masses in various places where we say mass depends a great deal on the lay people who are there, their enthusiasm, and their intention to make it happen. See, so we haven't seen that yet in Pittsburgh.
Can you speak a little bit about that, Your Excellency? What are the sort of qualities you're looking for when you see the best missions? What do you see in the qualities of those lay coordinators?
As the British say, somebody that would set the Thames on fire. You see, that's a British expression, and it says a lot. In other words, somebody who is absolutely dead determined to see it happen, and who's a go-getter and an organizer, and because we are far away, so we can't do all that. We can do a lot remotely, but there has to be somebody on the scene there to keep it going. And we have that in Pottstown. The people are very enthusiastic in Pottstown. In all of my almost 51 years now of the priesthood, I have not seen such an energetic group as in our Pottstown mission. So that's what we need.
They're lighting the Susquehanna on fire, I suppose, or the Schuylkill.
But no, I mean, Pittsburgh, I thought that would be one of the places. I figured Philadelphia, Harrisburg, Pittsburgh, but we just have not seen that yet, you see. And so we'd have to, but they could come to Harrisburg once in a while. I think that's about a 2-hour drive. I know that because I drive it all the time. I know all the times in Pennsylvania because I drive to Michigan quite a bit. And so, but they could come to Harrisburg once in a while, maybe.
Follow up on the Pottstown remark, Your Excellency. Someone had asked on social media if there's been any progress on a school in the Pottstown area.
Well, a school involves a number of things. First of all, you need what we call a material cause. You need school children and people who are willing to put their kids in the school, and who, so you need that. We can organize a school almost everywhere because of the online QAS. You see, so we can do a school anywhere. And the nuns visited Pottstown. They said the rooms downstairs are perfect for that, especially a small school. So we could do it there as long as we would get approval to have a school there. See, I don't know what the laws and rules are in Pennsylvania or that county, let's say. It's Montgomery County. But in principle, otherwise, one day we could rent or buy a facility that would be suitable. But a lot of factors have to come together like that, you see. So we're trying to get something going in Detroit, but again, you have to have people willing to come together and put their kids in a school in Detroit. You see, the nuns would like to go to Detroit. I just saw Bishop Salway recently. He said, in a way, we have too many nuns. We're looking to farm them out.
It's a great problem to have, Your Excellency.
No, they're doing. I think there's 30 nuns now, but they sent some to France, and they're getting going. Something is happening in France for next year, next academic year. But we would like to see a school in Detroit area, and also a school in Pottstown, if there's all of those factors are there. You see.
Yeah, I think you've alluded to this before with the question of a school in Australia, Your Excellency, that sometimes there are things that are outside of our control regarding the laws. So unless we can get a law changed, either at the federal level or the state level, whether it's in Australia or province in Canada, that is the major obstacle to prevent any other path. We could have the nuns, we could have the building, we could have kids who want to go. But if you can't get licensing or approval from the state, then it doesn't matter in a certain sense.
Yeah, they're looking into that in France. France has a very socialistic government and very anti-Catholic government. And so they're all over you if you're teaching religion, see, because it's against the revolution or something. And I said, when you're teaching about the French Revolution, you don't have to say anything negative about it. All you have to do is relate about how the heads were chopped off and how people were burned and all sorts of horrid things that happened. It's just in the history books. Just say it. You don't have to say anything. I mean, anybody with common sense would say this is demonic. This is satanic. So, I don't see the problem. You don't have to make any comment at all.
It's interesting. Actually, we've started to see some revisionism in French history. The museum in Nantes has displays now showing that the murders of the Catholics during the Revolution were listed as the first modern genocide. And I remember,
Yeah.
when I first read that, I looked to the left and to the right. I thought of the police coming. I can't
Mhm.
believe that they had this plaque listed, but there is starting to be some
Yes.
revisionism, even within secular France,
The
on what happened.
genocide in Vendée,
Yes.
and also the putting people on a barge and sinking the barge. They tied them up and sinking the barge in the river Loire in Nantes, and they would put men and women facing each other naked together for that. Those are the satanic, evil, wicked French revolutionists.
Mm.
Yeah, no, and then they would also guillotine children and the little kids, and the blade was too big for them, and it would make a mess, and it was terrible. No, when you read the accounts of the French Revolution, it is something inspired by the devil.
Said a trad 47 $10. Thank you. Said a. Is it justified for a mother to work outside the home because she lives in an expensive area? This mother could move, but does not want to because she likes the area. Said a. I don't know if you're asking for a friend the way that the question is posed, but
You know what I'm going to say. No, that's precisely the only reason why a mother should be working outside of the home is if she's practically desperate for money or the family is desperate for money. See, but if it's a question of comfort or you want to buy a boat or you want to go on vacation or some extra income, that's not permitted. The mother is extremely important for the order of the family. The husband is the head of the house, he's the king, but the mother is the queen. Think of the president without his cabinet. There's always a principal, you might say. But if he doesn't have assistants, it's chaos. If I didn't have Father Bear, for example, it would be chaos here. All right. I tell you, I make all the rules, but he carries them out. And that's what the mother does, you see, and she makes an ordered existence. The reason why these young people are all mixed up and changing their sexuality and shooting people and shooting themselves is because of disorder in the home. And the mother is not there. And the reason for that is that there is a certain greed, I'm going to say. In other words, an excessive love of comfort. It would be better to live in a simple home with very few comforts, but raise your children well. And you will find much more joy in that than anything else you could buy with money.
I think that's a comprehensive answer there.
Yes.
Domu 1822 for $10. Thank you, Domu. The Vatican just told SSPX to cancel ordinations before discussions could begin. Do you think the SSPX will go forward with this anyways? And how likely is it that they will embrace the SEDE position? Maybe you answered that second question first, Your Excellency.
Well, yes, SSPX is going to go ahead with the consecrations no matter what. There's no doubt. All right, they need them desperately. They have aging bishops, and they can't count on really. They wouldn't go to anybody else really. And so, what was the next? What will they take the SEDE position? I tend to doubt it, but they are in the perfect position now to do it. In other words, they should resurrect everything, all the reasons that Archbishop Lefebvre gave for the 1988 consecrations, namely that the Antichrist is operative in the Vatican. That's what he said in 1987 in a letter to the bishops about to be consecrated. In other words, the priests that would be consecrated. In a letter to them, they should get out all of that and blast away and say, this is the reason why we need to do this, because you people have made a scandalous destruction of Catholicism. And this is the only way it's going to survive. And we wouldn't ask you for approval any more than we'd ask Genghis Khan for approval. That's what they should be saying. I'm being a little facetious there, but they are in the perfect position because 1988, what is that, 30 some years ago? Things have deteriorated geometrically since then. And if that was true in 1988, what would Archbishop Lefebvre say today? I mean, he wouldn't be having a picture taken with Tucho, whatever his name is, and no, he would be very clear about why he was doing it, and I think they should be very clear why they're doing it, and I think they are in the perfect position to embrace the Sede position, and that's the only thing that makes sense with regard to the consecration of bishops. It's the only thing that would truly justify it.
I mean, Assisi looks mild compared to the
Oh,
present
that's
day.
all potatoes. You know, quote of Francis says, "No room in the church for those who reject Vatican II." Quote.
That's the reality. His Excellency, we revisit here. His Excellency talks about Mass being only 3 hours away, but this is not an easy task for an octogenarian widow in winter.
Well, did I say only?
Well, I don't think maybe you said only 2 hours, but in any case, I don't think His Excellency means that it's a small task. But I think he means, in contrast to it being only 12 hours away or only 15 hours away, that
Well, it depends on your condition too. In other words, if you're a young family, 3 hours is not too bad. You see, but if you're an octogenarian widow, especially in winter, yes, I'll be 76 next week, so I know what you're talking about. And everybody has his own case, you might say.
Teodoro Boschio, $5. Thank you, Teodoro. So two different questions here, Your Excellency. Where is the liturgical movement taint in the St. Andrew Missal? I think His Excellency alluded to being very faint or light, potentially.
Faint, yes. It's some of his comments you can tell. I mean, I don't have one in front of me, but here and there, things that are not terrible. I recommend it to everybody. It's just, you see, the missal, the idea of putting a missal in people's hands came from the liturgical movement. Before that, people either said the rosary or they used the prayer books. But there's nothing wrong with the missal. It's just that it's the product of that liturgical movement which went awry, especially in the 40s and 50s. So there's a little bit of it in it, but not that enough to worry about.
Yeah, His Excellency not saying you're going to become a modernist because you're using the
Saint. Very good missal, but I would prefer the Saint Fatherless better than that. Yeah. Was Bugnini really only a minor member of the work on the 55 Holy Week, as some claim? Not that I know of. I mean, Father Cicada was, that was the first product. That was in 1952 that was prepared. And he was the head of the liturgical commission set up by Pius XII for the reform of the liturgy. The secretary, that's the head, I mean, he's the grand kahuna of it, you might say. And, he was directing everything. So, did he type it up? I don't know. But, I mean, he's certainly responsible for it. And he was responsible for the 1955 changes as well in the Missal. So he's the one that said this is a bridge to further changes in the future. And as Father Cicada said, if we don't want to accept the changes in the future, why would we cross the bridge?
Right. I'm going to stay on that side of the river, Your Excellency.
Right. So, I mean, he certainly was ultimately responsible for it.
We're heading into our final 10 to 15 minutes of the live stream, which is the self-imposed limit before I get strangled by Father Disposito. So I make sure to look after my own health. If you have a super
Wait a minute, you're almost 3,000 miles away from Father Disposito.
You're actually, the Argentinians have means. So they're very capable people. Right. So just a reminder, if you'd like to get your super chats in, you've got about 5 more minutes, and then we'll close down for super chats, and I'll defer that to a future episode. Potentially Leo Watch next week. His Excellency had sworn it off in our last Leo Watch, but unfortunately there have been too many things that have happened since then, and we might have to do one. So
he came out with a blatant heresy. I mean, bold-faced, blatant, no holes, nothing barred. So we'll save that
for the next one. Teodoro Boggio for $2. Thank you, Teodoro. What spiritual reading do you recommend for Lent, Your Excellency?
St. Alphonsus Liguori has a great book on the Passion, and Tan just put out a beautiful edition of it.
Is it just called the Passion?
Oh, you're if you went to Tan Books, you would find there's 4 volumes that have been recently retypeset and very easy to read. I bought it myself, and you'll see it. And it's the infancy of our Lord, and then the passion and other aspects of our Lord's life. In 4 volumes, there's one on that. I would recommend that. It's excellent.
The Road to Calvary Daily Meditations for Lent and Easter, Your Excellency, is a purple bound.
No, this is it's not purple. What color is it? I think it's blue, dark blue. Tan Books, 4 volumes of the works of St. Alphonsus.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to look
All right.
it up.
That's the reference there from His Excellency. There's also, you'll see, the Friends of the Cross by Saint
Yeah, that's
Louis
very
de
good.
Montfort.
There's if it's available, the Saint is that a saint? Thomas à Kempis wrote Reflections on the Passion.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's available. I have it, but I've never.
It is. Yeah,
Yeah.
they have it in English in a smaller volume, I think. Maybe
Yes.
it's out of print, but I do think
Yes,
that's
that's very good too.
One more I would add to His Excellency's list is The School of Jesus Crucified by a Religious. I think Father Ignatius of the Side of Jesus, but that's also put out by TAN.
I'm not familiar with it.
Does His Excellency, from Jimmy Hunchen, thank you, Jimmy, for £10. Does His Excellency think there'd be merit in someone translating Bossuet's corpus of work from French? I feel that the Eagle of Meaux is quoted everywhere by the French authors.
You live in France for 11 years or something. No. It's quoted everywhere by the French. Well, Pius XII said that he never went to bed without first reading Bossuet. And Bossuet, yes, he said some magnificent things, and yes, I think he should be translated. Tell him he can do that in his spare time.
Jimmy, just add that to the list.
Yeah, no, he would have been canonized, I think, if he had not been a Gallican.
More from Teodoro Boggio for $5. Thank you, Teodoro. If wives and mothers should not work outside the home, what should they do if they are widowed, have grown-up children, or do not have a retirement?
Well, in that case, yeah, if they are free in that sense, that they don't have obligations in the home, then they could work outside the home. Yes. But if they, yes, but even, keeping the order of the house, even for your husband, if there's no children for one reason or another, that's part of your job.
More from Teodoro for $5. Thank you, Teodoro. December 7th, 1941, Archbishop Lucy of San Antonio, Texas, dedicated the Oblate Lord's Grotto. Would this include blessing of the water? Is the blessing retained?
I have no idea.
I think the idea is you're blessing the grotto, and would a blessing be retained by the water in the grotto? But
no, I know you have to go to Lourdes to get that. No.
And that water in Lourdes is not in itself blessed. It's from a particular spring from Our Lady, so it's a connection to Our Lady, but it's not. It doesn't have the same blessing.
No, it's not. It's not holy water.
More from Teodoro. Very active today. Thank you for your generosity. $10. On Ember days of the first week of Lent, do fast and abstinence need to be more intense compared to most other days in Lent? Do 4 slices of toast with butter equal a collation?
Well, again, does he live in America? Does this person live in the United States? Because the rules in the United States are different from other countries, from those of other countries.
So I guess just answer for the United States without reference to his.
In the United States, you have 1 full meal a day at which you can have meat, except on Fridays, obviously. And the other 2 meals taken together cannot equal the weight or the quantity of the main meal. That's the rule in the United States of America. Now, no other country has that rule. See, others observe the old rule, if they observe anything at all, because the war did away with an awful lot of that. France forever, for example, Italy, the war just, and it was not renewed. The customs were not renewed. The law is still there, but the customs were not renewed. But anyway, you can have 2 to 4 ounces in the morning, a maximum of 8 ounces at the other light meal, and maximum of 16 ounces at the main meal.
So those are the specifics, and there is a scale at the seminary.
By the old rules, then 4 slices of toast. I would say that depends on what toast you're eating, but I would exceed 4 ounces, in my opinion. but yet they used to weigh things. Yes, we weigh things here. We actually, there's a scale, and just because it's very hard to observe the American rule, because how much do I eat, and also you get a little scrupulous. So we weigh things here, and during Lent, and so I would say probably 4 slices of toast. As you can tell, this is the end of the show. Is probably goes over the top on either scale. In other words, whether you're observing the American or the
Well, after 2 hours of being in the hot seat, His Excellency might need some slices of toast himself. We have Your Excellency, the first part of the question: are the Ember Days fast and abstinence more so, you could say,
No.
intense?
No, actually, for somebody that is between 21 and 59, they are exactly the same. If you're 59 or over, if you have achieved your 59th birthday, that means you are no longer bound to the fast, but you would be bound to the abstinence rules on the Ember Days.
Brian Benson for $20. Thank you, Brian. Hello, Stephen and His Excellency. Hope you are well.
Thank you.
Brian,
you don't have a question? No question? No.
If you've got a question, Brian, put it in there. His Excellency is still on the hook for another few minutes. Traditional Catholic 1985 for 14 Canadian dollars. Are there weekly live streamed homilies on YouTube of His Excellency? I'm grateful for what's online, but some non-reruns would be lovely. God bless His Excellency. Well, Traditional Catholic, when you say some non-rerun, there are at this point hundreds of sermons of His Excellency online, not just on Roman Catholic media, but elsewhere. So when you say non-reruns, it would imply that you've watched all of them, which I very much doubt. So if you want, all you have to do is search. As far as weekly live streamed homilies, there are other Institute chapels that have live streams going. So for example, there's an Institute chapel in Michigan. Father Stavedra is not a member of the Institute, but his sermons are there in the middle of the live stream. And almost all the Institute clergy who give sermons, their Father Disposito and the team upload those sermons. So if you're listening to all 8 of the sermons from the previous Sunday, I am very edified, but I find that to be unlikely. So that the fact that you also need additional live stream homilies of His Excellency, His Excellency doesn't preach every Sunday. So no. Even if he did, you're implying that he's preaching every Sunday, and he's not.
I do give the spiritual conferences though on Wednesdays, so those are available too.
Yes, and those are streamed, so people can watch those. Rave B $87.95. Thank you, Rave. Your Excellency, is the collapse of sacred art mainly aesthetic or fundamentally philosophical and theological in root?
I would say fundamentally philosophical and theological in root. The cult of the ugly is definitely philosophical and theological. It's diabolical. All art should imitate nature, and modern art does not imitate nature. As a matter of fact, it is contrary to nature, contradicts nature, and that's from the devil.
Jimmy Hunjin for £10. I think he's just echoing what you'd said earlier, Your Excellency. Bugnini was also editor of Ephemerides Liturgicae in 1948, in which he made his name and some of his ideas known through articles and surveys.
Yes, he was. Archbishop Lefebvre said there are 3 biographies that should be written. One is of Montini, the other is of Bea, and the third is of Bugnini. And he must have known, because he knew all of those characters, and that they were like a team essentially responsible for all the rot in the church.
Traditional Catholic $3. Sorry if that question sounded rude. Apologies. It wasn't rude. I was just saying that there's a lot of material. If you'd like to listen to more of His Excellency's sermons, that is definitely available. Your Excellency, are there Institute priests in Asia?
In Vietnam, we go to Vietnam occasionally. I would say even often. There's an occasional visit to Tokyo. And as a matter of fact, they're having their YAG, or their young adults.
Catholic Singles Connect. Your Excellency, Father Palma is very grateful for you mentioning that. If you want, you can find more on Father Palma.
Of all places, Tokyo, Japan. All right. And so that's I think that's a come on for tourism, and you can meet somebody and have some fun in Tokyo. So and the so those parts of Asia, yes, we have a seminarian from another Asian country, and we're going to get yet another seminarian from a very large
Could it be the largest Asian country, Your Excellency?
You might be right.
If we're not counting Russia, obviously Russia is partially.
Yeah, there's plenty of the real estate in Russia there, but no, not from Russia. So they were calling it the Asian invasion here because we have a number of Asians. We have somebody from India. So this is the Asian invasion this year.
It's happening.
Yeah.
Jimmy says that Bossuet's Meditations for Lent has been translated, Your Excellency.
Oh, good. All right.
Someone is making sure that prunes and mush are allowed during Lent for those over 65.
Prunes and mush. I don't know what prunes and much are. I mean, I can't even comment on it.
Are you subject to?
Isn't that?
Yeah.
There's a cat on there.
I could be, Your Excellency, it's AI, right? So you could have a cat, I don't know, holding something there. It might be Puss in Boots. But are people over the age of 65 subject to the Lenten fast, Your Excellency?
No, they are only subject to a law of abstinence. So the Fridays, of course, always, and then the Ember days of all the 4 Ember days of the year. The 3 Ember days 4 times a year. They must observe the fast, and then some of the vigils too. I'm sorry, the abstinence, not the fast. They're never obliged to a fast once they have achieved their 59th birthday.
Okay. Well, Teodoro, yeah, that's admitted. His Excellency Teodoro said that he's in San Antonio, so that question about the toast applies to him, and you think that 4 pieces of toast with butter is probably excessive.
Yeah, you got to cut back.
And is this the one you're actually Road to Calvary Daily Meditations for Lent and Easter, St. Alphonsus? That's $15.
I can't remember, but if it's in a nice dark blue cover and it's looks very nice on the outside, that's probably what it is. It's in my bookcase. I just can't remember the exact title. Anything that's St. Alphonsus and Meditations for Lent and Easter would be wonderful. Anyway,
you're easy on that. Someone is campaigning to put Lenin number 2 in your bag of dirt list, Your Excellency, but you're reserving that for the philosophers.
Yeah. Well, Lenin was more practical. You see, Marx was the philosopher, and Engels actually more so than Marx. But Lenin would put it into practice. So, but we never discussed Engels and Marx. I mean, there's too much competition for that. 5.
Too much dirt, too little time, Your Excellency.
Not enough bags.
The question is to whether I'm in Asia. No, not so. I mean, His Excellency said 3,000 miles away, but people don't know 3,000 miles from Pennsylvania is in California, which is where I am. I'm visiting the
father disposes it could not possibly strangle you.
Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
Are there any masses in Taos, New Mexico?
I don't. None that I know of.
Again, reach out to us using the contact us form, and one more pile for Father Bayer to deal with. Someone is wishing a happy early birthday to His Excellency.
Thank you. Yes, next the day after Ash Wednesday, the 19th of February.
Well, ad multos annos, Your Excellency. I'm glad you are still with us, even though people lamented that on the last live stream, people said His Excellency wants to be dead at the age of 83. And because you'd said hopefully you won't be alive to see something, so they'd done the math and they calculated.
Well, it's like what somebody said in Ben-Hur. I've lived too long, I mean, I've seen so much. I forget who said that, but that was another great quote in Ben-Hur.
And on the first Sunday of Lent, does the Institute do the long tract in its full or the sad shortened version?
There is no sad shortened version. We do everything in full. I mean, that must be a John the 23rd thing.
Could very much.
No, it's a whole psalm. It's the psalm. Lest I dash thy foot against the stone. I forget what number it is, but it's the whole psalm. But unfortunately, we are not blessed with great voices, so we're not singing it. If you usually that is psalm tone, so that it goes faster. If you were to sing it, it'd probably take you 15 minutes to sing that. See, but we have not been blessed. God has not blessed us with that, with good voices. And I blame that a lot on popular music, that there's no music in the home anymore. And they just don't have any sense of music and tones or anything like that. So.
I'm just double checking the super chats. A lot of generosity tonight. Thank you very much. If I somehow missed it, if I neglected, please feel free to use the contact us form. Let me know. I'll make sure it gets read on a future live stream. Last two questions, Your Excellency, for tonight. What would His Excellency say was his favorite or most beautiful church in New York?
I'd have to say St. Patrick's Cathedral. However, there is an Anglican cathedral or Episcopalian cathedral, St. John the Divine, in New York, which is also extremely impressive. But St. Patrick's in New York City, it's a small version of Cologne. It was based on Cologne, and yes, it's a very impressive Gothic building from the 19th century. But the one of the St. John the Divine, it vies with Milan in saying it's the second largest church in the world, after the Peter's Basilica, of course. But it depends on how you measure it, by cubic feet or square foot. But it's a very impressive church. Unfortunately, it's the wrong religion.
Right. People Tropic, $10, Excellency. Does conversion of the Jews cover all Jews? And I think they're referring to people in Ethiopia and other parts.
Well, it means a moral, you might say, I was going to say a moral majority. In other words, it does every single last Jew in the world, does it refer to that, the conversion of the Jews? No, it means as a people, most of them, or the great majority of them, that would be the conversion of the Jews. Not necessarily every single last one.
Last question. Does His Excellency have any advice for insomnia?
Well, I'll say I never had insomnia, so I never had that problem. But sometimes listening to very, very nice classical music would be, that puts you to sleep. Sometimes I put that on and I'm asleep in about less than 5 minutes.
On the other side of things, if you want to wake up, His Excellency would advise getting a cat.
Yes.
You will be woken up promptly at 4 a.m. with a paw.
3 a.m. 3 a.m. The paw starts. The paw, at first it's a gentle thing, and then if I don't move, the claws come out and dig into the flesh, and then you jolt like that, and then he's hungry. He needs some food, even though there's food in his bowl. I have to put it in. He will not eat it unless I put it in. All right. And then he wants to go for a walk in the hallway. So I have to open the door for him to walk in the hallway because he has to check everything out. That's the routine at 3 a.m. that I have every morning. I can't sleep.
Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening. Thank you for all the super chats, for your generosity. Obviously, as always, thank you to His Excellency for sitting in the hot seat today for 2 hours. We will, as usual, have another live stream next week. Generally, our times are Friday at 6 p.m. 6 p.m. Eastern, unless something changes. And reminder to those who are watching this later after the live stream that the comments are not monitored by the clergy. So if you have a question, please do not put it in the comments thinking that one of the clergy are going to watch it. Please send an email using the contact us form. Be as specific as possible with your question, and unfortunately, we'll just get added to Father Bayer's to-do list for him to get back to. But a priest will get back to you.
From Louisiana after he
he's going to see it and avoid it. So please do that. And
he's in Texas. I'm sorry, he's in Texas. That's right, Texas.
And again, if you're watching this later, remember to hit like, subscribe, and share this with people. And you can check out the other channels that we have outside of the MHT Seminary channel. There's Roman Catholic Media. There's the MHT Seminary streaming channel. There's the MHT Seminary courses channel. So there's all sorts of content for you to look at and learn more about the Catholic faith. As always, Your Excellency, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.